everyone, Sarah here. Welcome back to Never Out of Books. Today I have my daughter behind me playing Minecraft and all this stuff, so this will not be a quiet video. But I wanted to give you my August TBR for the Summer Fling. Summer Fling is hosted by Sarah at, I think she changed her channel to Steeped in Books. And there's a lovely board and things like that. A little less complicated than last year and only 1 month long. This used to be like a 3-month event, but I've been looking forward to this all year round, and it is about reading romance, which I just love to do. There are 12 prompts, of which I feel obligated to choose a book for, with different degrees of success anyway, just because I'm competitive and crazy like that. And then I have a couple of other books that are on my shelf that if I am a reading beast, I will get to. So my handy little Bujo. It is not so pretty this time around, but whatever. The first prompt is Down Home Country. And I have a bunch of books that could fit for this, but because I want to read some of my Book of the Month picks, I decided to choose Beach Read by Emily Henry. And because this is like a small town sort of romance, they're actually at the beach in cottages next to each other, and I believe it is like a hate to love sort of romance. I figured it would suit this just fine. Next prompt is Big City Life, which is obviously just like lavish and glam and all of that. There's multiple ways you could take this. I chose It finally decided to get sunny right when I'm filming. Anyway, I chose Seven Sins, Forbidden Lust by Karen Booth. This is a Harlequin Desire that I got in a book box for this because it is like super glam, obviously, and so it seems to fit. Next up is an author of color. I chose to read The Wrong Mr. Darcy by Evelyn Lozada with Holly Lorenz. This is an arc I also got in the same book box, the Fresh Fiction box not to miss. And this author is Latina. So looking forward to this. I'm guessing it's some sort of Pride and Prejudice retelling. The next one is Hot and Spicy. Which, could normally be like a spicier level than what I normally would read. Or something that takes some place in a hot environment. Well, on my TBR, I've had On Dublin Street for a while, and I think that's kind of spicy. It's definitely more spicy than I would normally read. And they do have it on Hoopla available to me because, of course, my library is not yet open to interlibrary loans, and the actual library itself is very small, so can't just go and browse and get books. It's a little bit of a problem. So I will be grabbing that. If for some reason, because I'm on the waiting list, that doesn't come in, I will have to choose something else, and I've got a couple things tagged on here because I certainly don't have anything on my shelf that fits spicy at all. So we have Dark and Dangerous for the next one. For this, I chose Wait for Me by Susan May Warren. Again, another book I got in the Fresh Fiction box not to miss. This is a series book, but I don't feel the need to read any more of the series. And this is definitely a suspense, I believe, even though it doesn't look like it from the cover. I'm getting some stuck in the wilderness sort of rescue sort of deal. So I am counting this. If I read it and it turns out that it's not right, I totally have other books to fit every single one of these challenges, so I'm covered. And Sweet and Clean is this prompt. So obviously a sweet romance, clean romance, whatever. Another Fresh Fiction box not to miss. Read that I've had sitting on my shelf is The Sound of Distant Thunder by Jan Drexler, and this is an Amish romance, which I haven't read an Amish romance since I was a teenager. So This is obviously going to be sweet and clean as they normally are. Next prompt is road trip. For that I have Inside Out by Leah Riley. This is an off the map romance. Have some sort of road trip. Again, if it turns out I'm completely wrong, then I do have another backup book, but I'm trying to read my physical books, so I'm trying to make them fit. For Friends to Lovers romance, I have none on my shelf, so I did have to go to the library, and I checked it out, and it looks like this one could potentially be a Friends to Lovers, so I'm making it work, and that is What Ails the Earl by Sally Mackenzie. I can't make it bigger, sorry. This one looks super cute, and it's completely an inappropriate cover for the time period, but whatever. And I love the punny title, so I really want to read this one, and it's been on my wanting to read list for a while. And I think this fits the challenge enough, because that is actually a trope I love. Then we wanted a diverse read as the next prompt, and I grabbed One to Watch, because again, book of the month pick. This is by Katie Stamen London. And from the cover, she looks on the plus size of things. So I'm using that as diversity for this. I mean, I'm also reading this other book, The Wrong Mr. Darcy, which contains Latina and Black characters, I believe, as the main characters, but I want to get to this, and there really are not a lot of books that feature legit plus-sized heroines, because let me tell you, a 10 is not plus-sized. Just saying. Like, personally, from someone who is actually plus-sized, a 10, For prompt disability representation, I picked The Bride Test by Helen Huang, another book of the month. This features an autistic hero, although I know autistic people don't want to see it as a disability, but there's only so much I can do with this prompt and so much debate I can give, so I'm using this book. Next up, they wanted us to read an old school historical. Now, this probably caused me the most angst. Again, because a lot of the older bodice ripper romances from the 80s and 90s are not digitalized yet, and I don't have any on my shelf at this point. I have unhauled most of my collection. I know, everybody don't scream at me, but there's only so much room I've got. So, but I did manage to find on Hoopla a few. The other problem is that I read all of them because that's my era and when I read books, so I've kind of read all of them. But I did manage to find one that I don't think I've read, and that is A Rose in Winter by Catherine E. Woodweiss. This was published in 1982. I didn't read a lot of her books growing up because they were a bit much for me, I think, at that age. So we're gonna see how this goes, because it's been a while since I've read one of those cringy, non-consensual, almost like pretty close bodice ripping romances. And last but definitely not least, the final prompt is to read a category romance, like a Harlequin, or depending on where you live, they have different imprints of that. I have one on my TBR, but I wanted different books for each prompt, so I have already borrowed a Harlequin Desire box set. Boom! And that looked good, all three of them, but if I only read one, that's also okay. But Bombshell for the Boss, I like the Harlequin Desire line. I think that's probably my favorite, so I figured any one of these would fit, and I will be happy to read them. So I'm good to go. I've got them downloaded. Other books. I have from NetGalley from a long time ago that I haven't read, The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. This is definitely a romance, contemporary romance, and I have to read this month. And some other contenders for this month, if I finish that, like I said, if I read like a beast, more might happen. I have Silent Shadows by Natalie Walters. This is I believe it's a Christian romantic suspense, I think. I don't generally like Christian books because they tend to be a bit too preachy, but again, I got this in a book box, so I'm going to read it, and we'll see what I think. I also have The Fixer Upper by Mary Kay Andrews. I've had this on my shelf for ages. I got it out of like a book, out of a little free library or something. And this is some kind of either woman's fiction or chick lit, totally counting this. And it looks very cute. And also The Simplicity of Cider by Amy E. Reichert. This is some sort of, I would say, more women's fiction, and I probably will get to this one because I am taking advantage of as many audiobooks as I can. I really have been enjoying audiobooks this year, and this one definitely is in both Libby and Hoopla. So a couple of others I have on my shelf to get to is Cowboy for Hire by Victoria James. Whether it's a woman's fiction or an actual contemporary romance, it's hard to tell from the back because it seems a little bit more woman's fiction, but they look pretty young, so I'm not sure, but that's here. And then I've had this for a while, The Devil in the Saddle by Julia London. This probably will be my last pick because I really do like Julia London, and this is not the first book in the series, and I haven't read the first book in the series. For some authors, I actually care because I generally like their books so much, so I might not do this one. I'll prioritize the other things, but it's definitely a contender on my shelf. So that's what I've got, and I'm going because the sun has decided to come out even though we're supposed to thunderstorm like crazy all day today, and all I am is like shiny and gross. So that is my August potential, and we will see how it goes. So let me know if you've read any of these books, you want to talk, say something. All about romance this month. So I will talk to you later. Bye.